Hi, welcome to Positive Alternatives to Shelter Surrender, also known as P.A.S.S. We're going to give you some tips today on how to start a P.A.S.S program, what it takes to run one, and the different ways it can be set up, and different things that you may deal with when you do this program. What the P.A.S.S program is it seeks out ways to help keep pets out of the public, out of the shelter. And we do that by providing resources to people, education, and sometimes we also place ads for people who are unable to do it for themselves. One of the steps, there's several to putting together a P.A.S.S program, critical steps in that, good working relationship with shelter staff and volunteers. We'll talk about that for a minute. The most critical first steps in setting up a P.A.S.S program are establishing a good working relationship with the shelter if you plan on setting your P.A.S.S program up there. It's kind of twofold. You can set up the hotline and email program and only do one that way. But if you're going to have a presence at the shelter, in other words, you would be sitting at the shelter so many hours a day and trying to talk to people and give them resources so they don't have to surrender their pets. From the shelter aspect, it's important to set up someplace separate from but close to the surrender or the intake office. You should be the first person people see when they come to surrender a pet. Ideally, this should be before they get into the actual room where the pets are surrendered, but yet away from the shelter staff who do intake, because once inside that area, it's too easy to bypass the person doing P.A.S.S and just get in the surrender line and go ahead and give their pet up. If they have to actually speak to you before they can surrender, they are much more likely to give you their attention and to accept your help. The other aspect of this program is the hotmail and email program. The second step is to set this up, and you can do this through Google Mail and Google Voice. All of the emails and voicemails will come into the Google Mail and can be handled from there. So when a person calls in, it's going to roll straight into the email, and you can actually listen to the voicemail there. It's a really good idea to put an outgoing message on the voicemail, encouraging people to email and only leave a voicemail in case of an emergency. This is because you get people on the phone and you'll spend 20 minutes, and most of that time will not be learning about the animal in need. They'll have to tell you the whole backstory and a lot of other stuff, and you're going to have to end up emailing them, chances are, anyway. So it's better if they can just email you directly so that you can email them back. You cut out all that lost time, because that's time you could be spending on another email or another call. The other thing is volunteers to man the hotline and be at the shelter. P.A.S.S volunteers need to have more people skills than animal skills. Most of your interaction will be with people of all ages and personalities, some nice, some not so nice. Some will care about their pets, and some who actually view them as nothing more than property or lawn ornaments, as I like to say. A P.A.S.S volunteer has to remain tactful in all these situations and be professional, because not doing so can sometimes get the animal hurt, actually. People get angry and they just take the animals away and go and dump them somewhere. I've actually seen that happen. So you really need to be careful how you handle people, no matter how upset you get. Just remember that how you handle that person will directly affect how they handle the dog or cat in their care. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the key players and the duties in P.A.S.S. Your key players are going to be your hotline volunteers, and these are people who can commit 4 or more hours at a time, 1 or more days a week on a consistent basis on the hotline. I actually request this because I've found that if you give people a specific time and day to be there on duty, that they get more involved. If you just let them log in whenever, sometimes you also not only have people overlapping each other, but it's too easy not to commit and people don't get as involved. So if they know that they're going to commit to Tuesday mornings from 8 to 12 and they're going to sign up on the calendar to be there and they're going to start answering calls and emails during that time, then they're going to be much more likely to be committed to that time. Also, shelter volunteers, people who can commit at least 3 to 4 hours at a time, 1 or more days a week at the shelter. I usually try to get people at the shelter on the busiest surrender hours, which are always opening and closing. Our shelter here in Austin opens at 11, so people start lining up out front 10:30, 10:45. and it kind of slows down around 2, and then around 5 o'clock when people start getting off work, you start getting another influx of surrenders. So that's the key times to have people manning the shelter and be there when those people are surrendering. Some of the other things in P.A.S.S. are the network and resources. Some of your main key players will be your network. I found and created and then maintained a relationship with good Facebook rescue pages and reliable rescue people who literally help me daily. If it weren't for these people, there's just no way that I would be successful at this. I did this by actually going to the Facebook pages of rescues and sites that I thought would be good, and I responded to their needs. I didn't post anything at first. I just started commenting on their posts, let people get to know me, built up a rapport with these people, and then when I started posting, they started responding to my posts as well. And then they also came over and liked my page. We had some correspondence outside of Facebook. So this takes a little bit of time, but it is going to be one of the key things that you can do to be successful. You really want to go and spend some time building up a network of resources. Both your hotline volunteers and your shelter volunteers need to have good people skills as well. They also need to be able to handle sad and sometimes aggravating situations in a professional manner. That's another thing you want to make sure that when you are interviewing volunteers, we sort of interview people like a job position, because the truth is it is a good skill to have on your resume. So we always tell people what's required of them, and we try to pick people who have the skills that will work for P.A.S.S. And that's going to bring us to our next section, which is volunteers need people skills. Also known as there are no happy calls and emails on P.A.S.S. Every call and email a P.A.S.S. volunteer gets is usually an unhappy situation. It's almost always somebody wanting to rehome a pet or get rid of one, or there's something, they're calling in an abuse case, or they're calling in neglect, or there's something like that. So how you handle a P.A.S.S. client can directly determine how that client handles the animal in need. Some of the things you may run into are abused and neglected animals, rude and uncaring owners, owners who threaten to shoot or do harm to their animals. I have had that happen. Had a guy at the shelter one time tell me that he was, if I didn't take the cats, when I informed him the cats could be euthanized, he said then if I didn't, he was aware of that, and if I couldn't take them, he could just go home and euthanize them himself by hooking them up to the exhaust pipe. So in this situation, it would have been really easy to get really mad. I was really mad at this person, but you can't respond in an angry way, because if I had, he would have literally stormed off with the cats and probably done just that. So at that point, my goal was to just get him to go ahead and leave the cats. And then I can advocate for the cats from there. And if the cats are euthanized in the shelter, which I would hope they would not be, but if they are, I can guarantee you it's probably better than the death that he had planned for them when he left there. So you have to really handle these people carefully. You can also deal with owners who are physically or mentally ill and need to give up their pets, homeless people. A lot of these people have situations where they really are in need, and they do need some understanding. You must have volunteers who can handle all these owners and their situations in a non-judgmental and professional manner. Some of the successful aspects of our program are rehoming pets through ads, success on the hotline, success with our presence at the shelter, and we'll do some Craigslist ad examples and some rescue ad examples as well. So rehoming pets through ads. We've had an enormous amount of success on the hotline at the shelter rehoming pets, so they never have to enter the shelter system. On the hotline, we ask that people send us pictures and behavior info on their pets so we can place ads and postings. Our ads go out on Craigslist, Facebook, to listservs, and to different rescues. And those listservs, again, are built up of the network that we have built and made, all the connections we've made. So that's been very helpful. One of our Craigslist ad examples was this kitty right here. I'm not going to go over the whole ad, but basically I was contacted by a neighbor in an apartment who's the people next door to him in the next apartment had a drug problem, a known drug problem. They were they picked up and moved out of their apartment. They left everything behind, including their kitten, locked up inside. And he notified the landlord. The landlord and him together went in and got the kitten out, but they had nowhere to take it but the shelter. And they didn't want to do that, so they asked me for help. So I placed this ad, and this is the exact ad I put on Craigslist. And as you can tell from the top, I put something, always put something creative. They took their stash and left their kitten. Please help this baby. And just to give you an idea, first line or two, this baby's owners had some bad habits, and those things took up all their time and money. No time left for things like kitten food or toys, and no time left for love either. So I just go on and tell about the kitten. I don't go into the situation heavily. I more go into what the kitten is like and what the kitten needs, and that he's having fun playing with toys in the neighbor's house now. This particular kitten wasn't neutered, so I required that the people give a vet reference. I always require that anyway, but in this case, we always check and we make sure that there is an appointment made to get this kitten neutered and the vaccines that it needs before it's placed. One thing I always do, though, is require a vet reference. When I rehome for people, I tell them that I'm going to put in the ad that a vet reference is required. I tell them to call the vet, verify it, and ask if those people are responsible pet owners. If they cannot give you a good vet reference, my recommendation is to not let them have the animal. This is another rescue Craigslist ad example. This dog came into the shelter with 10 other dogs. She was extremely shut down. I mean, it was one of the saddest cases I've ever seen. She was definitely going to be euthanized. She would just pee and defecate all over herself anytime you took her out of her kennel. Day after day after day, she never got any better. She was one of those dogs that was never, ever going to make it in a shelter environment. She was never going to come to the front and greet anyone. And as a matter of fact, they put a lock on her door because they just found her. She never did anything, but because of her scared behavior, they thought she might be unpredictable. We went and got her out every day. I started placing ads. I put them all over Facebook. I put them all over Craigslist. And a friend of mine actually got so tired of seeing them, they broke his heart, and he ended up fostering her. And she now lives in an amazing home and has fun with all the other dogs in the house. And it's just a complete turnaround. It was just a wonderful thing. So don't ever think, if you see a dog in the shelter, that you can't help. Because even if you don't work or volunteer for that shelter, there is nothing stopping you from taking a picture of that dog, going out to visit that dog, and putting an ad or a Facebook post up and telling people about that dog and how much that dog needs help. We've saved a lot of lives that way. So there is always something that you can do. We're going to move on to rescues and sanctuaries. This is because we have found out by trial and error, not all rescues and animal sanctuaries are created equal. If you have not visited these places yourself, you need to contact people who have and make sure they're safe before you send a dog there. If you post an ad on a dog or a cat and somebody's offering to take it and it's a rescue or a sanctuary, please find out more about that rescue or sanctuary before sending an animal there. Don't operate on I heard they were wonderful recommendations. One time I sent a dog to someone who came highly recommended to me by another rescuer that I have great respect for and who had known this lady for years. Later I found out that she had only known her through phone conversations and Facebook posts, had never actually been to this person's facility, and the truth was this rescuer was nearly to hoarder status. So we had to remove the dog quickly and get it placed somewhere else, but it taught me a very valuable lesson. So you really do need to be careful. You're just not doing a dog any good to move it from point A to point B unless point B is really, really good. The other thing is to beware of the crazy Facebook people. If you're going to place ads on Facebook, be prepared to babysit them. I have people from all over replying to my ads that try to transport my dogs to Canada, Peru, I'm not kidding, just all kinds of stuff. These people will talk amongst themselves and be arranging transports before I even have time to screen them. This is true with rescue Facebook posts as well, and people will be calling the shelter from out of state and out of the country to adopt, inundating the shelter with calls that are not welcomed and can adversely affect your relationship with the shelter. Also, beware of hoarders and abusers on the rescue sites. They do exist. Everyone wants to trust people simply because they are posting on a rescue page, and you just can't do that. I still ask for references, and I still want to friend them and check out their Facebook page before even talking to them about a dog. You can tell a lot about a person from their Facebook page. Go into their photos after you've befriended them, take a look around, see how many dogs are posted, see how many dogs they have. Are they all living out in the yard in dirt? Do they look like they haven't been groomed or cared for? Are they skinny? Just take a look and see what that person's really like. You can tell a whole lot about a person by just visiting their page. The other thing we'll talk about is temporary boarding for emergencies. We've had success with this, a lot of success. We've been able to find temporary boarding for pets of people in hospice, people in domestic violence situations, and more that have kept pets out of the shelter. And in some instances from being euthanized. We have started contacting the facilities around Austin that do boarding. I have a boarding facilitator who is amazing, who does this for me. And we now have probably somewhere around 40 places that donate like 30 days of boarding time to us per year. And we save those for domestic violence, hospice, people that are really in a crunch and really need it. The dogs have to be vaccinated, up to date on all that before the facilities will take them. And if they're not, then we always have the people take them to some of the low-cost places around Austin and get that done. So that's been a really great thing. We've got several dogs in boarding right now, several cats in boarding. We've also been able to keep pets out of the shelter by offering food and medical assistance. Additionally, we have been able to refer them to other low-cost clinics if we can't see them. And we keep food on hand at our headquarters, and if people need that, we send them down there to get it. We've also been able to keep pets out of the shelter by offering training resources. There is a really great trainer here in Austin. There's several actually that we recommend, and there's some financial assistance that these people can get for training, and a lot of times people email us or call us about a dog that is showing out or has anxiety or being slightly aggressive with the other dogs in the house. We've been able to keep that dog in the home by suggesting this training. Let's talk a little bit about the obstacles you have to overcome. People want a quick fix. Also, no resources for people in emergency situations and found dogs and cats. All of these are a bit of a problem. Most of our obstacles come from people who simply want a quick fix and expect us to take their pet, which we cannot do. We only pull from the shelter. I get people on the hotline all the time, almost every day, that tell me I'm moving tomorrow. I've had some people tell me I'm moving to Singapore in 3 days. I cannot take my dog or cat. There's not a lot I can do for you in 3 days. I can try. I can teach you how to do postings. I can tell you people to contact, but most rescues are full. It's going to take them longer than 3 days to take your pet. If I throw up posts today, I can't guarantee you that you're going to find the perfect adopter within 72 hours. It's just not going to happen. So that's an obstacle. We do our best with those, and we try to figure out ways around it. If we have to, we go ahead and throw the post up and hope for the best. We advertise them like crazy for people and see if we can't give them some help. The other thing is no resources for people in emergency situations. Most of this has to do with medical. I've gotten calls 10 o'clock at night before with very sick, very injured dogs and cats, and these people have no money or very, very little, and the only place that's left to take them is an emergency vet clinic, which is 24/7 vet care, and it's very expensive. Most of these people don't have the money for that. I wish I could tell you that I had found a good solution for that. I haven't. One of the things that I have done before is I've had people text me or email me a picture of their animal real quick. I have had them go ahead and take the animal to the vet clinic. I've then put a post up on Facebook with a picture of the dog or cat and the problem with the dog or cat, and let them know this person is such and such vet clinic. They need help. Please, if you can give anything, donate anything, call the vet at such and such number and donate to such and such dog or cat. And this has been extremely successful. I've rarely had people that didn't just start chipping in immediately and cover all that person's vet bills. Obviously, this is not, you don't want to be throwing one of these up every day because then people are going to get tired of it, but luckily we don't have that happen every day. So The times that it has happened, I've luckily scrambled around and found a way to help them. The other thing is found dogs and cats. It's really hard to keep these out of the shelter because, of course, they have to do the 3-day stray hold. And it's just, you know, you advocate for them from there. A lot of times I've just taken their picture and put it up on Facebook and has said, this cat was just found. Does it look familiar to you? It's going to have a 3-day stray hold, and after that, it's going to need help. Here's the ID number. If you want to, if an owner doesn't reclaim and you want to adopt or foster, please contact the shelter, and I give them all the information that they would need to do that. Obstacles on the hotline and at the shelter. So here's just a few examples. Feral cats. Feral cats are killing my birds in my garden, fighting with my house cat, etc., etc. I a lot of times refer people to Alley Cat Allies. It's the best resource ever for educating people about feral cats. They have printer-friendly pages. You can take them to the shelter with you to hand out to people, and they completely dispel all the myths about feral cats and address all the problems mentioned above. We've also got a barn cat program that has been tremendously helpful with feral cats that get surrendered. People that want cats for their barns, keeps them from being euthanized at the shelter. Some of the other things I've heard, I'm moving tomorrow, can't take my dog or cat. I covered that briefly. I try to get them to get a friend or a family member to keep the animal until I can place posts. Just whatever we can do to work that out. My cat is peeing on everything. This happens a lot. We have a cat behaviorist that I consult with. I just met, she's one of our volunteers, and she so graciously offered to help us. So I consult with her on these problems or send the people to her. And I've also started saving responses that she has given to people so that I can give them out again and try to help these people get, you know, work out whatever is causing their cats to have this behavior. The other one is my toddler pulls my chihuahua's ears, and he's biting them. Sometimes people just need to be educated on dog breeds and what dogs are probably not good to have around toddlers, and sometimes, quite frankly, they need to be educated on how to teach their children to treat the pets in their home. So you have to do that gently. Obviously, people get defensive. But I do talk to people about that and to try to work things out, because there's really no reason for surrendering a pet just because it's not the pet's fault. So try to work with people, talk to them, educate them, and do it in a way where you make them feel good and not put them on the defensive. So volunteers. If you're going to get these people, you're obviously going to have to train them, and you want to be able to keep them. So we're going to talk a little bit about training the P.A.S.S volunteers. I found that the best way for training the hotline volunteers is to let them into the email and phone lines and just let them read for 2 or 3 days and kind of see what comes in and what kind of responses we give back. And then after that, I let them take a shift by themselves, and I kind of have them, you know, I monitor it, I watch it, I kind of see what their responses are, and if they need my help, I'm always there. One thing is you need to keep your volunteers, and to do this, I found it's important to have get-togethers now and then. Try to once a month take your group out for drinks, for dinner, for whatever. P.A.S.S is a tough place to volunteer because of the nature of the calls and emails coming in. The P.A.S.S volunteers need to stay connected, and then they need to have a place to vent and let off some steam so that they don't burn out. So have a P.A.S.S party. Once a month or so, get your group together and just go do something. Use this time to get closer as a volunteer group, to chill out and to vent about the situations that you've come across that month. It really does keep your people connected, and it keeps them volunteering. We also have canned responses for people to use to help rehome on their own. So we don't, if people are able to use the internet and I feel like they're well connected and they're on Facebook, they can actually do this for themselves. They can do the same things we do. So we send them out a canned response to help them do this. So this is an example of our canned cat ad, in which we go through, we give them resources to rescues to contact, and we also tell them how to reach out to their coworkers, their friends, send an email blast out to people, post it on Facebook, check your references. We give them all the tools they need to do it for themselves. This is the rest of it. I also tell them at the bottom to get creative. If you just put an ad up and say, cute cat needs home. There's like 100 to 200 ads a day that go up on Craigslist. Nobody's ever going to look at that. You need to get really creative. I give an example. This cool kitty needs a new litter box, or my owner has to travel but won't buy me a ticket. Help a kitty out. Find something creative to put in the title that makes people want to open that ad and look at it. And then, of course, we give the resources and other places for them to post. This is the one for dogs. We do the same thing. We give them rescues to contact, tell them how to do the ad, and again, get creative. Divorced dog seeks new till death do us part couple. I mean, you just got to put something cute in there and good pictures. Have people, tell people to use really good pictures. And some people don't want to use a picture at all. Make sure that they put one up there. It makes all the difference in the world. So past failures and past successes, we've had both. We learn each time. We've got Boomer over here on the left. This is where you have to be a prime example of being careful on Facebook. This guy had had Boomer since he was a puppy, and as it turns out, he then got married. 5 years down the road, had this little toddler. She turned out to be highly allergic to dogs, and at first Boomer had to stay outside. So you can see Boomer outside here in the picture. At a later date, her pediatrician said that wasn't even working. She was just the dog dander coming in on their shoes and clothes was just, it was too much, and they needed to rehome their dog. So he contacted me. I put the post on Facebook. I said that the child was allergic, and I think 50 people commented that he should take her to a different allergist. He should do this. He should do that. So they started posting home remedies. He could not do all of this. These people weren't financially wealthy. He couldn't run from allergist to allergist. He really needed help. Somebody got so angry that they sent him a really nasty email and told him what a jerk he was for getting rid of his dog. And he ended up getting so frustrated that the dog, Boomer, ended up in the shelter. And then I was able to save Boomer, but I had to do it after he got in the shelter because people literally just bombarded this person. So you have to be careful what you put on Facebook. People, that's another prime example of the Facebook crazy people who get all emotional, and the focus goes completely away from the dog and onto the person, which is what you want to try to keep from happening. On the right here, I've got a note that says Cindy's dogs. This lady had about 13 basically feral dogs. They weren't feral with her, but she was the only human they would even get around. And she had several puppies. We did get a rescue to take the puppies. The dogs went into the shelter. We advocated for them as much as we could. She had to go get a few of them out. One of them ended up being shot. Another one was euthanized. We were able to save a few, but not all of them. So it can be a really sad situation on P.A.S S, so you have to know that you're going to deal with those things. And again, I think this goes back to keeping your people motivated and having get-togethers and focusing on all the positive things, all the animals they've saved. We do get people that are extremely grateful for the rehoming we do, that have contacted us with thank you notes, people that have donated money to our organization for the help that we've given them. So it's not all sad stuff, and you have to understand that you have to balance that out, because you can have some really tough days sometimes. Past successes, Marshmallow had never rehomed a bunny before. It was my first bunny. I was scared to death. But I posted this bunny, and little did I know that there are a bunch of bunny lovers out there. I love them too. I just didn't know that there was a whole group of bunny lovers that, I had a girl that contacted me that had another Angora bunny and wanted a playmate. So I had this this rabbit rehomed within 2 days. I was shocked. Jackson is a German Shepherd that a teacher had lost her job, and this is where resources and networks come in. I posted Jackson, and my resources and the people I was connected with German Shepherd Rescue reached out. They found a foster for this dog, but then someone else reached out and found a house for this woman to live in. She was going to have to move to a small apartment that wouldn't allow her dog, and somebody actually offered her a condo where she could have her dog back until she got on her feet. So she was actually able to move into a place and keep Jackson. So that was a huge success. We were just so happy about that. And then there's Tigger and Belle and all the other ones up here. We won't go into all those, but these are all successes that we've had. We've managed to place these animals and it's very rewarding. So it makes you feel really good when you can help people like that. Then we run statistics each month so that we show, this was shelter statistics, not on the hotline, of all the dogs, the percentage that we kept out of the shelter for that month just by being out there. It didn't look like a lot to me, but the shelter told us that it actually is a lot, and that it was a tremendous success. So once I heard that, I was much happier. In November, we were able to rehome. We had 75 people that came to surrender. 56 of those surrendered. So we were able to keep 25.33% of those animals were rehomed. So as you can see, it just goes down through the months, and you can probably see that April and May we weren't able to keep as many out, or June, or July. Those are high surrender months. So, but still yet we were able to keep at least 11 to 15 to 20 animals out of the shelter a month, which is great when you come to think of it. And that doesn't count what we did on the hotline. So basically that's the program. You just want to, you can either have a presence at the shelter and a hotline. You can do one or the other. We do both. Set up a Facebook page, get to know people on Facebook, learn to build a network of people that you can count on, and you can start advocating for all these dogs and cats, and a lot of them will be kept out of the shelter. A lot of them you'll be able to find homes for, or help the people find homes, or help the people find training. Help the people find another rescue that can take these animals so that they don't end up in the shelter. And if you're working with a shelter that still has a high kill rate, this means everything, because it will definitely keep more and more animals from being euthanized every single day. We love this program. We're very proud of it. We would love to see people be able to start it everywhere so that we can start keeping some of these dogs and cats out of the shelter and give them the homes that they deserve. So thank you for listening to us today. And if you have any questions, we're going to have information up on our website, and we'll also having our No Pill conference in February, so please attend, and I hope to see you there. Thanks.